Jazz hands, iScrappers, happy belated 4th of July and happy 242nd birthday, America. We hope that many of you enjoyed a nice day off for the 4th of July. I'm sure that many of you savvy scrappers were out there mid-morning or midday looking for those grills that were broken for those big barbecues that may have been thrown out to the street. So if you were, send us a shout out, hashtag iScrap grills, baby. Hope that everyone's doing well, enjoying this nice, hot and spicy weather. A couple of cool things, no pun intended, about the hot weather. You'll definitely see a lot more air conditioners, a lot more grills, a lot more patio furniture coming out to the streets for scrap. So that's one thing that you definitely want to look to. We saw a couple of people chatting in the Facebook group over the last week and a half or so about, you know, what is or is not legal to take from people's houses, scrapping wise, talking about going in dumpsters for demolition projects. And there's a lot of people that responded and gave their own opinion on what they thought. So it was really cool dialogue. Make sure we'll send a link on here so you can request to join the group. Like we've said in the last few weeks, anyone that's trying to advertise or promote themselves scrapyard wise, we remove and we ban them permanently, because all we want scrappers to do is be talking and interacting like they have been, and it's been a really good thing. So we'll get into a couple of things. Overall, last week we've seen the markets down. Third week in a row we've seen these markets decrease. Copper's down almost 15% in the last 4 or 5 weeks overall, which equates to about 47 cents. So that's a bit of a kick in the teeth. But we've seen the markets drop consistently this entire week. We've seen the reported prices drop. We've seen bare bright reported anywhere from 207 to 257 over the last week. We saw brass prices in the 139 to 166 range. Insulated copper wire prices are getting beaten down a little more than others because of some of the news coming out of possible stopping of imports into China in the next couple of years. So copper wire market, 37 cents up to 52 cents per pound for normal regular wire. And steel is down about $6 or $7 a ton overall in the last week as well. That's not too much of a concern. When you see steel prices down $6 a ton, as many of you know, $10 up and down increases are relatively normal. And think about it this way, a $10 increase is worth half a cent a pound. So when we're down $6 or $7 per ton, you're talking about less than half a penny per pound, just to give you a little bit of an idea and compare apples to apples here. So while we've seen the copper market down the last week, again, we saw about a 10-cent drop between the 4th of July and the 5th of July. And a lot of people will say, hey, why is that happening? A lot of the markets were closed in the US. Yes, the stock markets were closed, but the world markets where the commodities are being traded were open. Not everyone really cares that it's the US's birthday and that it's a national holiday, just like, a lot of us don't care about other people's holidays, whether it's, France's Bastille Day or anything like that. We don't close our markets for other countries' celebrations. So with the markets dropping 6 cents yesterday, another 4 cents today, we've seen a really large pullback. We've seen scrap yards going on the very defensive side, and a lot of people will start to ask us, do we think that they should hold their metal or cash their metal out? Now, copper prices are roughly where they are 1 year ago. So we saw that big rise, and like I said, 47 to 50 cents lower from where the height was about a month ago. And a lot of people will say, well, maybe there's going to be a bounce back, up and down. And the answer is yes, there will be. But the problem is when the bottom will kind of level itself out. With large drops over the last couple of weeks, it's going to be hard to see these markets level out anytime soon, and a lot of people are going to have a lot of pessimistic attitudes, because if the market levels out for 3 or 4 days, they might think that we're at the bottom, but we might see another drop. With so many shakeups going on with the, we could talk about tariffs, metal wars, people stopping importing into their countries. There's so many things going on right now that are leading to these metal prices fluctuating so great that it's going to be really, really difficult for us to see what happens going forward. So we're going to stay tuned. We're going to continue to update you and kind of help out from there. Hopefully going forward, we'll be able to see where the markets are and give you a much better idea on where they're going to be for the next few months. But we see copper prices staying where they are, if not going a little lower. We think that you should cash in. We've always been advocates of cashing in while you have it. a lot of people, we talked to one gentleman who had 10,000 pounds of copper, and he's been saving for 2 years, and he was waiting for $3 per pound Bear Bright. And he said that he's been holding on for about 3 or 4 years since the market was at $3, and we saw a couple of prices reach $2.90, $2.92. We even saw one person in Upper New York report $3 per pound for Bear Bright, but where this gentleman was, his market was about 10 cents away, and he was convinced that it was going to go up that extra 10 cents 3 weeks ago in the middle of June. Here we are down 45 cents later, and you know that guy lost out on over $4,000 of his hard work by just holding out to the material and holding out for the extra nickel. So we always advise cashing in while you have the metal and not just gambling, because that's essentially what it is when you're waiting for something, because now you have a market that's down 30 or 40 cents. And you have to wait for that big 10 to 15% rebound, and who knows when that's going to come. A couple of the concerns that they have right now with the Chinese government is the possible ban on all scrap coming into the country. Now, we've talked over the last month and a half about the Chinese limiting cardboard and paper and certain types of low-grade electronics and low-grade copper-bearing items. But what we see going on now is that the Chinese are telling us, hey, we have a lot of material here that we've bought from the US and the world over the last 25 years. Not only do we have a lot of material, we've bought stakes or shares in a lot of mines, and now we're going to mine and ore a lot of material ourselves. So we're going to be able to produce enough copper to quench our hunger ongoing, and you'll see little scrap yards popping up in China. So if you're looking to start a new business and you know Mandarin, maybe you can move to China and start a scrap yard. I don't know what the laws are there, but hell, it might be a good business for the next 10 to 15 years. But one of the problems is if they're going to stop buying a lot of the materials from the world, a lot of the things like insulated copper wire, low-grade motors, sealed units, compressors, all these things that have been shipped overseas, cardboard, paper, plastics, the Chinese are going to stop buying them. And what's going to happen is we're going to go through a little bit of a period where we're going to be in a wait and see. And we're going to wait and see who's going to start buying after that. Now, one of the problems is, A, we don't know who it's going to be. So you're going to see the entire world market weaken in a lot of their purchase price. So they're going to know that the Chinese are going to stop buying. So why would they pay you 50 cents a pound when in reality they can pay you 40 cents and you're still going to move material? Scrap yards are still going to have to sell. They don't have unlimited resources, whether it's space or money or time. They need to flip material as well. So maybe scrap yards can pick one item that they're going to hold on to and hold for the market to go up, but they can't hold on to 100 different items, and neither can you. Your garages are only so big, the buckets are only so wide, and now you're going to find yourself holding on to more and more material instead of cashing it out and just moving material and accepting a lower profit for a little while. Because that's how things go. There's ups, there's downs, there's ups and downs. We all enjoy when gas prices are $2 per pound. We all hate when gas prices are $3 per pound. But when they go back down to maybe $2.50, you should enjoy it a little more. And that's what's happening in copper right now. The other non-ferrous markets, aluminum relatively untouched, stainless down 2 or 3 cents. Gold prices down, which are going to affect electronics. Chinese not buying as many electronics are going to affect a lot of the electronic recycling markets, and a lot of the other countries throughout the world that are going to pick up the slack are going to know that the Chinese are not buying. And again, I don't mean to specifically single out the Chinese in this. They're just the ones that have bought the majority of the copper and have been the world's largest consumer for the last 20 years. So it's kind of hard to not talk about them when you're taking the biggest player out of the game. I don't know if you guys like basketball or golf, but it's like taking LeBron James or Tiger Woods out of the sport. That leaves a big hole. Whether you like it or not, that leaves a big hole. When Dale Earnhardt was out of the sport, that left a big hole for a lot of other people to fill, and it normally wasn't one person stepping into those shoes. It was a lot of smaller people stepping into the shoes. If you want to take the NASCAR reference, Jimmy Johnson, a couple of these other guys, they went in there, Dale Earnhardt Jr., but it wasn't immediate gratification. It took time. And that's what's going to happen with the Chinese potentially pulling out of the markets. It's going to take time for other people to step in and take that big bite and take little snippets of it and eat it themselves. You're going to see a lower, more depressed market. Even if copper is strong, you're still going to see a lower and depressed market because you're just not going to know what's going to happen going forward. So, Where do we go from here? We wait and see. You know, it's really that simple. My advice, you know, you can take it or leave it. Like my father-in-law says, I don't own it. I'm just going to give it to you. What you do with it is up to you. I think that if you're holding on to material right now, that right now is a great time to cash in. I think that right now is still at a level that's relatively high, is still at a level where you can make money on all of the hard work that you have, and it is still at a level that's going to give you the ability to clear your shop out and not feel super, super bad that the markets have become a little more depressed. I think that there's going to be a little tougher times coming up for the rest of 2018, going into the second half, which we are, and I think that now is as good a time as any to kind of lick your wounds, you know, rip the Band-Aid off, start fresh, and go forward. Steel market's relatively unchanged. Oil prices still $73 a barrel, which you're going to see, you know, continued gas prices staying high. Even though the U.S. is continuing to pump more, we're still going to see these gas prices stay at the level they are, with a lot of people trying to figure out what's going to be going on with OPEC, with gas coming out of Iran and other countries that are going to put different holds on buying from other countries. We have a lot of what ifs right now and not a lot of answers, and unfortunately we're just going to have to be in a wait and see mode going forward. Guys, this is Tom from the iScrap app. We are a day after our regular time. We normally like to do our weekly reports every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Today is Thursday, July 5th, 2018. We hope that you've been scrapping well, scrapping often. Share our stories with, share all stories that you have. Continue to post your prices. Continue to talk inside the groups and let us know what we can do to help you make more money on your scrap. Until next week, scrappers, I'll scrap you later.